Captain Elias Ward had survived orbital sieges, trench storms on Europa 7, and the last pulse wave detonations of the Silicon War. But none of that prepared him for standing inside the Vekari Crystal Court, surrounded by towering bioluminescent alien females who moved like living constellations. The court was unlike any hall he'd seen. No walls, only soaring archways of translucent mineral that sang when you walked past them. Light rippled across every surface. Even the air shimmered with drifting motes of bioluminescence. A Vekari honor escort, tall, sleek, glowing faintly blue, guided him to a circular platform. "Stand here, human captain." The matrons observe. Elias adjusted his uniform. Observe what? Before the guard could answer, the chimes sounded, soft, melodic, commanding silence. From the far end of the chamber came the high matron Irisha. She was nearly 8 feet tall, her long crest tendrils glowing in complex patterns. Her presence was both serene and intimidating, the way a mountain at dusk could be beautiful but powerful. "Captain Elias Ward of Humanity," she said, her voice echoing like underwater bells. "We summon you to receive an honor of the matriarchy." Elias swallowed. Honor? He had learned enough about alien diplomacy to fear that word. Irisha extended a staff carved with ancient glyphs. "For your valor in the defense of our citadels during the Silicon War, the court decrees that you shall participate in the rite of lineage renewal. You shall join with the newly risen females and contribute your human strength to the next generation." Elias blinked. What? The translation hollow beside him flashed. "Court orders you to mate with newly adult females." His heartbeat punched his ribs. He stood frozen, mentally reviewing every first contact protocol. Nowhere did they cover this. "High matron," Elias said carefully, "humans don't assign reproduction through legal decree." Irisha held up a graceful hand. "We do not command you as a soldier. We invite you as a savior. The Vekari species struggles. Our numbers have fallen. The machines targeted our cradles. Our genetic diversity weakens. Humanity saved us from extinction. Now we seek unity." Elias tried to breathe, tried to process. Around him, the court pulsed with soft light, a ritual sign of solemnity. "You will not be harmed," Irisha continued. "You will not be required to surrender autonomy. But the renewal is sacred, a bridge between peoples, a hope that the next cycle of Vekari will carry your courage and spirit." Elias said quietly, "And if I refuse?" The court dimmed, soft disappointment, not anger. "You may refuse," the matron said. "The decree is ceremonial, a formal invitation to consider. But refusal will be mourned, for the newly risen have sung of your bravery." Elias let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. So it wasn't force. It was ritual, a cultural test, an honor that felt more like standing on a cliff's edge with wind howling beneath. He straightened. "High matron, I need time to understand the ritual, its expectations, and what it implies for me and your people." Irisha inclined her head. "Wisdom is strength. You shall learn." A younger Vekari, slender, bright green, eyes shimmering like liquid emerald, approached. "I am Sarai of the Learning Sisterhood. I will guide you. I will teach you our customs and help you understand why this honor matters." Elias nodded. "Then let's start with why me." Sarai's glow brightened shyly, almost like blush. "You fought for us when we had nothing left. The newly risen watched your memories through the archive walls. They call you shield bearer. To them, you are a future shaper." Elias looked down, humbled. "I was doing my job. Yet you did it with heart," Sarai said softly. "That is why the renewal calls to you." The court lights rose again, signaling closure of the summons. Irisha lifted her staff. "Captain Ward, you may now walk freely among us as honored guest. Learn, question, choose. When the moon cycle completes, we ask only for your answer." Elias bowed, awkwardly, hoping it wasn't an insult. As he walked out of the chamber, escorted by Sarai, he felt the weight of thousands of eyes, alien, glowing, hopeful. They didn't just want his biology. They wanted humanity. And that, Elias thought, might be the heaviest honor of all. Rituals, lessons, and the truth behind the renewal. Saray led Elias through the Vekari capital, Luminaris, a city carved into crystal cliffs overlooking an ocean that glowed like liquid stars. Everything felt alive. The buildings hummed, the walkways lit beneath your steps, the sky shimmered with drifting energy arcs. But the beauty was overshadowed by his thoughts. Why the newly risen? Elias asked as they walked along a bridge of sparkling mineral. Saray folded her hands, a sign of deep explanation. The newly risen are those who have crossed the 21st cycle. They are adults. Think of it as your early 20s. And they want me? Saray stopped. Her crest glowed a soft lavender, Vekari sadness. Many of them grew up during the Silicon War. They watched their siblings vanish. They saw our cradles burn. To them, a future feels uncertain. They seek symbols of hope. Someone who helps save their world. Elias sighed. I didn't know they carried that weight. You humans have scars, Saray said gently. But ours run deeper. We came so close to disappearing that every new generation must be protected. They continued walking until they reached a chamber filled with floating memory crystals. Saray tapped one, and the room filled with holographic images from the war. Vekari fleeing, machines advancing, human marines forming defensive lines. Then, Elias himself, dragging a wounded Vekari child to safety while plasma fire rained from above. I remember that day, Elias whispered. So do we, Saray said. That child is one of the newly risen now. Elias' breath caught. They're the one who wants this renewal ritual with me? Saray shook her head softly. Many do. You are a beacon in our darkest cycle. Elias ran a hand over his face. This was more than a ceremony. It was emotional inheritance. Cultural healing. Tell me about this ritual, he said. Saray motioned for him to follow her into another chamber. This one circular, with murals carved into walls like flowing light. The renewal has 3 parts, she explained. 1. The circle of stories. The newly risen and the honored guests share their pasts. Not facts, feelings. Memories of strength. Memories of sorrow. To us, the story of a person is a greater gift than the body. Elias blinked. So, it starts with talking? Saray nodded. Talking with the heart exposed. Few pass the stage. 2. The bond of symbols. Each participant offers a symbol, an object representing their future hopes. The ritual is emotional, not physical. The newly risen want your courage, not your flesh. Elias felt tension lift from his shoulders. Good to know. 3. The choice of paths. Saray gestured to 2 mural paths. One bright, one quiet. One path is unity, contributing to our future generations. This can be done in many ways: ceremonial mentoring, genetic donation through clinical means, or symbolic legacy sharing. The other path is friendship, no joining of lineages, but eternal recognition as an ally. So the court order was? Elias asked. A formal invitation, Saray answered. A test of spirit. The Vekari believe only someone worthy will push back and demand clarity. Elias groaned. You people are going to give diplomats aneurysms. Saray gave a musical laugh. We already have. They walked out onto a balcony overlooking the glowing sea. Elias, Saray said softly, the newly risen do not want to claim you. They want to learn from you, to feel the hope you carry. Elias stared at the glowing waves. Hope is a heavy thing. Then let us carry it together, Saray whispered. And for the first time since entering the crystal court, Elias felt the burden shift, not disappear, but settle more gently onto his shoulders. Maybe he could do this. The newly risen and the decision of the 2 paths. The gathering hall of the newly risen was breathtaking, a vast amphitheater carved into a giant pearl-like shell, glowing softly in blues and golds. Hundreds of young Vekari stood waiting, their bioluminescent crests shimmering in greeting patterns. Elias stepped inside, and the room brightened instantly. Vekari excitement. Saray whispered, They welcome you, shield bearer. A taller Valkyrie stepped forward, crest glowing fiery gold. I am Valara, first voice of the newly risen. We greet the human who fought for us. Elias bowed. I'm honored to meet you all. Valara's eyes softened. We have seen your memories, your courage, your grief. Today we share ours. The circle of stories began. Stories of pain. One Valkyrie recounted losing her mother during a machine bombardment. Another grew up in underground shelters, never seeing the sky until the war ended. A third spoke of holding her dying twin in her arms during the siege of the Crystal Cradle. Their voices were soft but strong, refusing to be broken by the past. Elias shared his own scars. The friends he had buried. The battles he barely survived. The guilt of not being able to save everyone. When he finished, the entire hall dimmed in solemnity, a Valkyrie gesture of shared mourning. Stories of strength. The mood shifted as the newly risen shared how they survived. Learning to rebuild machines destroyed by war. Growing the first post-war crops in irradiated soil. Rebuilding their first cradle nursery since the siege. When Elias spoke of how humanity rebuilt after the Battle of Orion Gate, the Valkyrie lights brightened in admiration. You humans endure, Valara said. We wish to learn this. The bond of symbols. Each newly risen stepped forward, placing a glowing stone or carved charm into a basin, symbols of hope. Elias placed his. A bent dog tag of a fallen friend. His hope carried me forward, Elias said. Maybe it will help you too. The room brightened. Valkyrie gratitude. The choice of paths. Ceres stepped into the center. Elias ward of humanity, the time has come. Unity or friendship. Both honorable. Elias looked at the hundreds of glowing eyes watching him, not with hunger or possession, but with something far deeper. Hope, trust, belief. He stepped forward. My answer is this, he began. I choose unity on human terms. Respectful. Clinical for biology. But emotionally, I will stand with you. Teach you. Learn from you. Help you rebuild. The hall erupted in shimmering light, so bright Elias had to shield his eyes. Valara bowed deeply. Then let our futures rise together. Ceres' crest glowed with joy. You have given the newly risen a future. Elias felt himself smile. Not out of pride, but out of connection. A bridge had been built. A new chapter had begun. Not through force. Not through command, but through choice. And that, he thought, was the most human thing of all. A new future forged between two species. The celebration of Elias's decision spread through Luminaris like a wave of living light. The city's crystal towers glowed brighter that night, reflecting shimmering patterns across the ocean. Valkyrie singers chanted in ancient harmonics, their voices blending with the hum of rebuilt energy conduits, a song of rebirth, hope, and unity. Elias stood on a high balcony, overlooking the glowing sea. For the first time since he arrived, he felt calm, purposeful. Not a soldier fulfilling orders, but a bridge between two worlds. Ceres approached quietly. The newly risen have begun composing a lineage song, she said softly. Your name will echo in it. Elias laughed under his breath. Me? In an alien song? That's a first. You underestimate your impact, Ceres said gently. Your choice changed more than you know. The council's reaction. The next morning, Elias was summoned to the High Council chamber, a soaring heart-shaped space carved from pure luminous stone. The 7 matrons stood in a semicircle, their crests glowing in synchronized patterns. High Matron Irisha stepped forward. Captain Ward, your decision has stabilized our renewal for the next cycle. The newly risen look to you as a symbol of courage, but more importantly, as a reminder that the universe still holds allies. Elias bowed. I only did what felt right. Irasha's glow brightened. Such humility is rare among warriors. Another matron, older and with deep violet glow lines, spoke next. Humanity and the Valkyrie have fought side by side. Now, thanks to you, we will rebuild side by side. A ceremonial orb floated down and hovered above Elias. A translator whispered into his ear. You are now officially a friend of the lineages. Not a mating order. Not a biological requirement. A title of honor, something sacred in Vekri culture. This title meant he had the right to guide, advise, and even mentor the newly risen generations. That alone was a bigger responsibility than any weapon he'd ever carried. Irisha touched her staff to the floor. We wish to hear your intentions moving forward. Elias took a breath. I want to help rebuild. Not as a soldier, but as a teacher, a friend, a partner between our species. A ripple of approval pulsed through the chamber, bright waves of white and gold light. The newly risen's gift. Later, Velara and a group of newly risen met him at the ocean terrace. Their crests glowed with excitement. Shield-bearer, Velara said, we have created something for you. She handed him a crystal tablet. When he touched it, the surface bloomed with images, his memories intertwined with theirs. His rescue of the Vekri child. Their rebuilding of the cradle nursery. His first step into the court. Their first sunrise after the war. The memories blended into a single shared history. This is our bond, Velara said. A story of unity that our children will learn. Elias swallowed hard. It was the greatest gift any Vekri could give. He placed a hand over his heart. Thank you. This means more than you know. The beginning of a new alliance. Days passed as Elias learned Vekri customs, worked with engineers to help secure food production, and spoke to the newly risen about resilience, humanity, and rebuilding after loss. The Vekri, in turn, taught him their healing arts, their crystalline technology, and their ancient philosophies about rhythm and emotion. The bridge between their species grew stronger with every shared moment. One evening, as he watched the crystalline sea pulse with light, Sarai joined him again. You have given us hope, Elias. He smiled. You've given me purpose. Sarai tilted her head. The renewal is not merely a ritual. It is a promise. You chose unity, not through body, but through spirit. Elias exhaled softly. Maybe that's what humanity has always been good at. Making connections. Even in the strangest situations imaginable. Sarai laughed, her crest glowing gold. We Vekri thought we understood humanity. But now we see, your strength is not in your weapons. It is in your will to build, even after destruction. Elias looked out at the horizon. A new chapter was beginning. For him, for the Vekri, for both their peoples. The final oath. On the last day of his stay, he stood once again before the crystal court. This time, there was no decree, no test, no uncertainty. Only respect. Irisha lifted her staff. Captain Elias Ward, do you vow to uphold the path you have chosen? To guide our youth, share your strength, and walk beside us as friend and ally. Elias stepped forward, voice steady. I vow it. Not as a soldier of humanity, but as someone who believes in the future we can build together. The court erupted in radiant light, colors he had no name for, beauty beyond anything human eyes were meant to see. That light washed over him, warm and alive. A blessing, a welcome, a beginning. Elias Ward, human soldier, had become something new. A bridge of hope between worlds. A guardian of futures. A symbol of unity written into alien song. And in that moment he knew, the universe had changed. And so had he.